people do not realize how much each of us contributes to the advancing technology of the world. Every time we open electronic devices, especially phones and computers, we have the ability to contact people across the world in a matter of seconds, get new information, and use it to create amazing inventions. We have so much knowledge at our fingertips. This is all due to globalization. Globalization is, as defined by Merriam-Webster, the development of an increasingly integrated global economy marked especially by free trade, free flow of capital, and the tapping of cheaper foreign labor market. Through significant events in our history, this world has gradually become more globalized, and to that effect, flattened. We have traded goods and ideas and invested in education and technology. What we have not noticed, however, is that we have been connecting ourselves to the world in ways we have never imagined possible. By making the world more advanced technologically, we have helped the world become a better, more capable place. The world has become more than just a large home. It has become a friend with all the answers. And the longer we study the world and discern its powers, the more information we can get out of it. We have matured from people who rely on the world to people who the world relies on, and we have come to know this process as globalization. According to Thomas Friedman, who wrote a book called The World is Flat, the world is producing new technologies and information at an incredible speed. He concluded this after being in India, which is assimilated to American culture at a breakneck speed, and which now looks more technologically enhanced than even America. In his book, The World is Flat, he writes, "No, this definitely wasn't Kansas. It didn't even seem like India. Was this the New World, the Old World, or the Next World? Beginning with the Industrial Revolution, the world has become more and more globalized every day." The Industrial Revolution was a time of much change. Men lost jobs and secured harder, less gratifying jobs at large factories with their newly invented machines and technology. At the time, there were many new inventions that helped to globalize the world. These included the steam engines and the locomotives, which allowed people to travel quickly. Information and ideas reached other places faster, as with the telegraph. When this happened, people used the information to create more inventions and technology, which helped to globalize the world further. The economy also made a large transformation, and eventually contributed to flattening the world. First, it was a capitalist economy, and it had too few boundaries to work. People could be anywhere on the ladder of wealth, whether it was extremely low or very high. When this was changed to a socialist economy, there were attempts to even out the distribution of wealth. Using this style of economy ensured that the money each family had was about the same. There was no longer an upper class and a lower class. This was the beginning of the flattening of the world. The Industrial Revolution, with its new technologies and the spread of information, began the globalization process that is still in effect today. The era of nationalism was another contributing factor to globalization. During this period, everybody believed in the same values, fought for the same rights, and loved the same country. There were two types of nationalism. Liberal nationalism was a movement with global values of freedom, equality, tolerance, and individual rights. Romantic nationalism was a movement where ethnicity defined the nation, meaning that people shared a common language, a common culture, and a common history. The pride people felt for their countries helped them work together much more efficiently. Their ability to work together helped the innovation process very much. The constant innovation helped the process of globalization to continue. Imperialism was the next historic occurrence that contributed to the globalization of the world. This was when European countries strived to create empires from nationalist countries. They hoped, in the process, to civilize the current residents of those countries. The white-skinned European men thought these dark-skinned people were inferior to them. There were theories such as social Darwinism, which stated that these people were closer to the apes than the white people. The dark-skinned people gradually assimilated to the European culture, either because they were forced, or they wanted to be more like the proud Europeans. They wore clothing in the European style, they spoke in the same way the Europeans spoke, and they learned many other pieces of information that they later used to create their very own technologically based world. Because of imperialism, the world became much more globalized than it had been before. The Great War, Interwar period, and World War II all completely hindered the process of globalization. This was a vast period of time in which most trade, investment, and migration had stopped. People no longer felt secure, which caused them to cease their participation in these monetary risks. Their lack of investments hindered globalization, as there was no longer money to create new technologies. Due to the stop of trade, the small amount of new information and technology that was produced could not be distributed. This was a major setback for globalization that lasted many years and truly brought fear, insecurities, and pain to many lives. This pain and fear ended with the end of World War II. Since this war, globalization has been in effect at full speed, with few minor setbacks. One of these setbacks was the Cold War. For obvious reasons, wars of our history cannot be counted among the contributing events to globalization. Wars depleted our produce and resources, consequently hindering globalization. However, we bounced back more quickly and with more force each time. Despite the wars that were faced, in the past 70 years or so, the world has globalized at an impressive rate. Numerous technologies have been invented through the notable amount of knowledge acquired. All these technologies have globalized the world at an extent that would not have been believable to the common worker before the time of the Industrial Revolution. After learning about the events which both contributed to and hindered globalization, I began thinking of the long-term effects of this process, effects that are now present in our everyday lives. I reread the definition of globalization and realized just how much we subconsciously ignore everything in our lives that continues to contribute to globalization. Globalization, as defined by Friedman, is the interweaving of markets, technology, information systems, and telecommunication systems in a way that is shrinking the world from a size medium to a size small, and enabling each of us to reach around the world farther, faster, deeper, and cheaper than ever before, and enabling the world to reach into each of us farther, faster, deeper, cheaper than ever before. We people do not realize how much each of us contributes to the advancing technology of the world. Every time we open electronic devices, especially phones and computers, we have the ability to contact people across the world in a matter of seconds, get new information, and use it to create amazing inventions. When I realized the significance of this, I felt myself humbled considerably. We live lives enriched with smartphones and Mac computers, and most of us have probably never realized how much we owe to the centuries of globalization that led to this. Friedman remarked that the world is shrinking from a size medium to a size small, and said this is enabling the world to reach into each of us farther, faster, deeper, cheaper than ever before. We have been pulled into the world much more than we comprehend. The world has integrated itself with each of us as much as we have done with the world. The best thing to do, in thanks to the centuries of globalization before us, is to use all our acquired knowledge and technology for good. For my family alone, I am desperate for cures to cancer, diabetes, and multiple sclerosis. People I love and cherish unconditionally are afflicted with these diseases, and I do not want them to suffer as much as they do. It is jarring to think of all these people I do not know who are suffering from these and countless other diseases. We have the power to cure these nasty diseases that dampen our lives with so much sorrow. With our inclination to create and innovate, we can find the cures, and we owe it all to globalization.